St. Louis, the gateway to the West, is now the gateway to the best.
Swing and get up, baby! Get up! Get up! Get up! Get up! Home
The game is over. The series is over. The wait is over.
What's happening, nerds? This is John Nerding Out with Cards, and I'm doing my next Ozzie Smith Weekend video tonight. First, before I get into that, you notice I'm wearing U.S. hat. This is for the World Baseball Classic that's about to come up, and hopefully the U.S. wins that. I'll be very excited. I love that tournament. But the U.S. men's hockey team won gold in a great game against Canada that went to overtime. And I kind of had a little bit of mixed feelings somewhat because Jordan Binnington is the goaltender for Canada, and I really like him. So I guess it would have been cool if he had won a gold medal to go with his Stanley Cup. But finally, the U.S. wins against Canada. Definitely a better outcome than 2010, where we lost in overtime in the gold medal game. But also, since my last video, the women's U.S. hockey team did the same exact thing, beat Canada in overtime to win the gold medal. And what's awesome is if, Adam over at Pints in a Flood, Rob over at Bucks and Six, they're fans of those Top Now cards. And so having a relationship with those guys definitely put the Tops Now within my, forefront. And so I was looking up on Tops to see if they had cards for them, and sure enough, they do. So ordered those, and a bunch of us were talking and about that game. He's big hockey fans, hockey card collectors, and I think a bunch of other guys are ordering those cards too. But moving on from that, because this series is about Ozzie Smith. Unfortunately, we had the news yesterday that Bill Mazeroski had passed away, and he is much more than a defensive player. However, he is predominantly known as a defensive player, and so it really sucked to hear that news, and especially because I watch a lot of Pirates fans, and talk to a lot of Pirates fans now that being here on the YouTube, and so that was when I saw that news, I immediately thought of a bunch of those guys. But Bill Mazeroski, phenomenal defensive player, World Series champion, Major League Baseball Hall of Famer, deservedly in my opinion. I believe, especially if we have the designated hitter in the Hall of Fame, defensive specialist, if that's what you want to call it, belong there too. But again, just like Ozzie's more than defense, I think that Bill Mazeroski is more than just defense. But anyway, rest in peace, Bill Mazeroski. And I just wanted to mention that before I get into the video. So with this video, what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip through the binder. Because a lot of times what I do is I say, hey, I was flipping through the binder and found these cards. Well, this one, I'm going to flip through it as I go along. But earlier tonight, I was watching Kelly and Patrick over at Card Blitz, which I believe that y'all should go like and subscribe that channel. I don't know how he doesn't, they don't have more, but phenomenal channel. Absolutely love it. But the theme of their latest video was multiplayer cards. And, multiplayer cards, there's, at times there's a negative connotation to it. At times there's a positive connotation to it. I think it's just all, the card itself, right? A lot of people love them, myself included, and a lot of people kind of lament them more so for I think the rookie cards. It's the preference to have, the key player on their own card. I get that. But, multiplayer cards, like I said, it's the league leader cards, team cards, theme cards, rookie cards, all those things. And Ozzie's on a bunch of them. So I figure I'm going to show a bunch of them off because I enjoy that video so much. And, so there's a few things that these multiplayer cards allow me to have. So I'm an Ozzie Smith collector. And you see here is Lonnie Smith, who is a phenomenal player for the Cardinals, big time player for the '82 team. But I don't collect just a ton of Cardinals cards. They all have a fit and a point. So having a World Series champion such as Lonnie Smith within my collection because of these legal or not legal multiplayer cards, I think is just a lot of fun. You know, and some of these I've showed before, but it is what it is. But you got this multiplayer card right here. It's got Lonnie Smith again, but it's also got Willie McGee and David Green. And there's just not a lot of cards that have Ozzie and Willie on it, for example. So that's why I really love that card. But you know, you go through, and like I said, this is what I do every week. Is I flip pages, but this one's pretty sick, right? So you got Steve Garvey on there, who you know there's an argument to be made: should he or shouldn't he be in the Hall of Fame? But then you got Gary Carter. Shout out to Big Scott, big time Gary Carter fan and collector. And it's kind of neat too because it shows him here as a Montreal Expo, um, just because they're not around anymore. But and then you got Gerald Strawberry. Everybody knows him. From what I understand, he's actually living in the St. Louis area these days. For the guys that do like the TTM stuff. But check this out: Ozzie Smith and Dave Winfield, two Hall of Famers on that card. So that's one of the things. Oh, got to show this one too. These like rub offs, but you got Ozzie Smith right there, and then you got Tom Seaver, and then you got Eddie Murray. That's pretty sweet. And I don't think I'm going to go through like all of these cards, but no, those cards are examples of because of how I collect. You know, I get to have other great players within my collection because of multiplayer cards. You know, with the league leader cards of Bob Gibson, Lou Brock, Stan Musial, and whatnot, I get to have like some all time greats and stuff within that. But you know, this Ozzie Smith collection allows me to have cards of players uh, from you know like this generation, right? You know, this one's pretty cool because like I don't have Jack Clark in my collection, but this is a card that celebrates you know his home run and that moment. So you know this collection also allows me to have um, or multiplayer cards allow me to have cards of moments to go along with a lot of the all-time greats, right? Like Tom Seaver, Eddie Murray, Dave Winfield, Gary Carter, and things like that. You know, so this one's pretty cool. You know, the Sports Flicks team preview is what they call it, and this is kind of difficult. But you got you know Danny Cox, Terry Pendleton, Vince Coleman, John Tudor, Todd Worrell, awesome stuff. And so like that's you know the Whitey Ball years. I think that one's a really cool card to represent that. And I'm not going to go a video without showing a multiplayer card that doesn't show this. Ryan Sandberg. You know, I've showed that tons. I think I've showed that card more than Ozzie's rookie card, damn near, on this channel. But it is a great card. You know, it's got two of the all-time greats to ever do it. This one's pretty sick. This is like an all-star themed Panini sticker card from '88. You got Ozzie, and then also another former Cardinal, Eric Davis. You know, shout out to Rob and Dave. You know, that's that's a really cool card. But you know, and Eric Davis was a big time player, just like Darryl Strawberry was a big time player. You know, maybe he'll never be in the Hall of Fame, but it is what it is. But Eric Davis is also a Roberto Clemente Award recipient, so I think that's pretty cool. Hall of Fame or not, you know. But let's go through these. Some of these I'm going to go through pretty quick. Uh, this one right here, and it says Top Minis, Tops Minis. This one's from 1990. So it comes on the front. It comes on the back of a Chuck Finley card, which he's a former Cardinal. That's pretty sweet. I did not target that when I got this, but the stickers on the back Ozzie's paired with Dave Parker. You know, he passed away last year, unfortunately, before his Hall of Fame induction. But this is when he was part of the Oakland Athletics. You know, he was on a World Series team with them, on a World Series team with the Reds. Phenomenal player, obviously, because he's in the Hall of Fame. You know, good thing for errors committees and veterans committees. You know, fixing the mistakes of baseball writers, right? At least that's my opinion of it. But well, let's go through here some more. There's another like theme I want to get to when it comes to multiplayer cards with Ozzie. Oh, I'll show this because I can. You know, he's pictured with Cal Ripken Jr., another all-time great. You know, and of course Ozzie's on several cards with Cal Ripken Jr. It's unfortunate though that like he's not. None of his playing days cards picture him with Barry Larkin. I think that would have been really cool, but didn't have that. There, he's pictured on there with like multiplayer or um, post playing days cards. But here's a cool one. So Score in 1993 did these Dream Team cards, and I don't know if they did them other years or not, but this is what's called a header card. It's more like a checklist, and this one happens to be blank back. But there's several Hall of Famers on this header card, and I know people who collect players, such as you know the way that I do it. If there are players on this card, they collect it. But you got King Griffey Jr., Dennis Eckersley, Roberto Alomar, Tom Glavine, Kirby Puckett, Ivan Rodriguez, and Frank Thomas, and those are just Hall of Famers. Because there's also Andy Van Slyke, Gary Sheffield, and Charles Nagy. But I think that's really cool, and it's not one that you like find every day. Like I had to buy a whole set just to get this card. But you know, you just kind of do what you got to do. You know what I mean? And it's similar to the 1993 Topps Black Gold. I showed this on a video before when I deep dived into the 1993 set. Tons of Hall of Famers on there, including Lee Smith, Larry Walker, you know, former Cardinals. But no, this is one of the ones I wanted to get into. Is while the Cardinals were not good at this time, but you have Ozzie on here, and you know he's like the superstar of the team. And you got some like the up and comers, Ray Langford, Bernard Gilkey, Geronimo Pena. I mean, I've had a bunch of his cards over the course of time. I don't really know what he did or did not do in St. Louis, but anyway, Bernard Gilkey's a local guy from the St. Louis area. Ray Langford, one of my favorite players growing up. He was so good, all star, hit the most home runs in Bush 2. But that's a card, and I'll show some more. Like that reminds me of my childhood. Whether or not the Cardinals were good doesn't really matter. Like, how many people even know Geronimo Pena's name? You know, Bernard Gilkey. I think more people remember that name. Just not too many. Ray Langford was certainly a great player. He's in the Cardinals Hall of Fame. You know, this Red Folly card, I believe is what it is. But you got Ozzie and Ray Langford. I like this card a lot. Not the greatest design or anything like that, but just the fact that it has Ozzie and Ray Langford on there is so damn cool in my opinion. But you know, we're getting close to the end here. And I just want to show this one because I can. Same thing, but for the following year. It's got Greg Jeffries. I know a lot of collectors that were collecting late 80s, early 90s, chasing Greg Jeffries cards. Like, I've heard their stories. You know, he was this hot prospect that the Mets thought was going to do something great, and he didn't really pan out. Like, people, when they talk about Greg Jeffries, it's really kind of coulda, woulda, shoulda, negative kind of thing. But his 2 years in St. Louis, he was good. He was an all-star both years, turned that into a big contract with the the Philadelphia Phillies, where I think he kind of came back down to earth. But yeah, but he was good for us. So it's kind of funny to have like that hobby legend within my collection because of that multiplayer card, right? You talk about what could have been Ray Ordonez and this deja vu card with Ozzie Smith. He was so good defensively. You go watch the highlights. It's just unfortunate that his career was not longer. People want to compare Ozzy and Omar Vizquel. Man, Ray Ordonez was phenomenal. And here's just another really cool card. It's got Brian Jordan, Ray Langford, Ozzie Smith. It's got the Dufex going on, this Pinnacle Mosaics from the Zenith set. There's another card in here that has the three of them on there, but I'm not going to backtrack. So yeah, these multiplayer cards within my Ozzie Smith collection. I'll limit the closing statements to that, but it's got all-time great players, Hall of Famers. It's got those cards that kind of remind me of like the legendary Whitey Ball teams that like I was too young to watch, but their names and players that I've heard so much about, watched highlights, and all those things, and that's captured on cards in here. And then you also have cards because this collection ends in '96 when I was 11 that captures players of my youth that time for most baseball fans, time has forgotten those players, right? I'm willing to bet people my age might remember Ray Langford, Brian Jordan, but how many remember Bernard Gilkey? How many remember Geronimo Pena? How many remember Greg Jeffries as a good player for the Cardinals? You know what I mean? And so when I do flip through these, this binder, and there's the iconic cards or highly recognizable cards, there's the insert cards, there's the theme cards, and all those great things, and those are awesome. But an aspect to it is also those multiplayer cards for those reasons I just mentioned that I love multiplayer cards for so many reasons. And then yeah, you get league leader ones, you get team cards, postseason cards, and what have you. So it allows me to just have some awesome stuff within my collection, is what I think. So yeah, I'm a big fan of multiplayer cards. And so anyway, this is how I'm nerding out. And I'll just close with this one. It's a little bit different. It's not so much a multiplayer card per se. It's just a unpunched panel. You got Ozzy, Brian Jordan, Tom Pagnozzi, and it's also got Scott Cooper, who he sucked with the Cardinals, but he was an all-star with the Red Sox. But anyway, this is how I'm nerding out. Multiplayer cards that feature Ozzie Smith. Y'all nerd your own way.